Oh hi. Romania, the state in southeast Europe which is partially located in a northeast part of the Balkan Peninsula. In the southeast it is washed by waters of the Black Sea. Borders on Ukraine in the north, Moldova in the east, Hungary in the northwest, Serbia in the west and Bulgaria in the south. The area of the territory minus 238,391 km. The population, more than card people. Assessment 2019. On both of these indicators is the largest country of the region. Takes the 62nd place in the world on population, and the 80th in territory. The country differs in considerable ethnocultural diversity. The most part of believers. About 87% of the population. Professes Orthodoxy. It is subdivided into the 42nd administrative and territorial units, 41 of which, Județ, and 1, a municipality Bucharest equated to Județ. The capital, Bucharest. A state language, Romanian. Romania, the unitary state and presidential and parliamentary republic operate to the section, sharp device. The post of the president is held by Klaus Iohannis, the prime minister, Florin Caizu. The industrial country with dynamically developing economy. Monetary unit Romanian leu. A course for January 10, 2019 4. 05 leu for 1 US dollar, the cost of 1 United States dollar in new Romanian lei in a year. 365 days. I increased by plus 0.19 lei, from 3.88 to 4.05 RON. Romania arose in 1859 as a result of association of two principalities, Moldova and Wallachia. Independence of the integrated principality, which successor was a new state of Romania, is proclaimed on May 21, 1877. The member of the EU since January 1, 2007 and NATO since March 29, 2004. The name of the country comes from armor. Romanus, Roman, and is literally meant by the country of Romans. Romania occupies the space in 238,391 km. Is also the biggest country of Southeast Europe across the territory and the 12th in territory country in the whole Europe. The country is located between 43 and 49 northern latitude, both 20 and 30 east longitude. Approximately equal combination of mountain, hilly and flat areas is characteristic of the territory of Romania. Through all territory of the country, from border with Ukraine to border with Serbia, there pass the Carpathians prevailing in the center of Romania with 14 ridges. The highest point of Romania, Mount Moldoveanu, 2544 m. Oil and polymetallic ores are distinguished from minerals. The southeast of the country is washed by waters of the Black Sea, where large trade ports and sea bases of navy are located. Ports are connected with internal regions of the country highway and the railroads. Existence of an outlet to the sea is favorable to international sea trade with the countries of Europe, Asia and North Africa. Through the Strait of Gibraltar, the entry in the Atlantic Ocean, through the Suez Canal, to the Indian and Quiet Oceans is carried up.
Romania is located in a zone of the continental climate which is characterized in the cold winter and in the warm summer.
Average annual temperature varies from 11°C in the south up to 8°C in the north. The regions of Romania bordering on Bulgaria and Hungary, some of the most fertile in the world, but in all from them considerable decrease in the standard of living and population is observed. There is an unconfirmed opinion that nevertheless, as well as in all Eastern Europe, the number of country people grows in Romania quicker city, and in this regard the semi-nomadic population of the Balkans which can conceal official decline in population in countries of Eastern Europe nedicitiația. The spring is characterized at the cool nights and warm days. Summer, as a rule, warm. Average maximum temperature in Bucharest is in the summer 28°C, average minimum -16°C. Cold winters. Average maximum temperature fluctuates from 2°C on plains to 15°C in mountains.
The absolute maximum makes 44.5°C and the absolute minimum was registered in 1951.
38.5°C in 1942. On average, 750 mm of rainfall a year drop out. A sheet part of rainfall drops out in the summer. At the same time, differences between various areas are considerable. In mountains drops out up to 1500 mm of rainfall a year, in the south and in the center near Bucharest, about 600 mm, in the Danube Delta, about 370 mm. The woods occupy 19% of the territory of the country. At the same time, Romania is one of the largest regions of the undisturbed woods in Europe.
In forests there lives a large number of wild animals among whom there are bears, wolves and others.
On plains, foxes, hares, squirrels and badgers. In the territory of the country 400 types are revealed. The source isn't specified. 480 days unique mammals, among whom the Carpathian chamois is most known. Birds and reptiles. The fauna of Romania consists of 33792 animal species, among which 33085 invertebrates and 707 vertebrates. In the territory of modern Romania, some of the most ancient remains of Cro-Magnonites, Peșteracuos, dated about 42,000 years ago, were found. About 4,000 years ago there was Neolithic culture. In the period of a Bronze Age in 1800–1000 BC, there were Thracian Phrygian tribes such as. In the 7th century BC, in the territory of the modern Black Sea coast of Romania, Samosata, there were Greek colonies. Emergence of the states belongs BC to the 3rd century, such as at the end of the beginning of the 2nd century of our era, Dacia was conquered by Romans. There was a gold mining and resettlement of colonists. By this time, the beginning of an intensive Romanization and origin of the Balkan Latin belong. In the 270th years after the revolts, Romans were forced to recede for Danube. During great resettlement of the people, Dacia was devastated by the migrating tribes Izredi, Vandals, Huns and some others. In the 6th century, in the territory of modern Romania, Slavs began to lodge. In the Middle Ages, ancestors of Romanians lived in the territory of 3 principalities:
Wallachia, Moldova and Transylvania. Since the 11th century, Transylvania possessed autonomy as a part of the Hungarian kingdom, and in the 16th century became the independent principality and remained until 1711.
In 1526, during fight at Mokkach, the Hungarian troops were beaten, and Wallachia, Moldova and Transylvania got under vassalate the Ottoman Empire, at the same time keeping internal autonomy to the middle of the 19th century. Gradual dying off of a feudal system is characteristic of this period.
Stefan the Great, Vasil Lupiu and the Tricantamir in Moldova are most distinguished from governors of territories at this time.
Matei Basarab, Vlad III Tzepes, Dracula, and Constantine Brâncoveanu in Wallachia. Janus Hunyadi and Gabor Bethlen in Transylvania. In 1600, Wallachia, Moldova and Transylvania were united under the power of Mihai Rabri, but in 1601 Mihai was killed, and the real power in Wallachia and Moldova, the adjusted nobility, captured Prusmansky. All the 17th century is characterized by seigneurial dissociation and civil strifes. At the beginning of the 18th century, in the union with Russia, governors of Wallachia and Moldova tried to get rid of Ottoman domination, but the Prussian campaign of Peter I, because of treachery Vlachsky Constantina Brâncoveanu, terminated in failure, and enslavement of territories by the Ottoman Empire amplified. The historical process of creation of the state of Romania began on Vasil the Ottoman Empire lands of the integrated Principality of Wallachia and Moldova in 1859, as a result of association of two principalities, Moldova and Wallachia, by election both principalities of Alexander Cusi, who declared himself the prince of the integrated country. Release of peasants and other projects of reforms called strong opposition of policy of the prince among ultra-conservative party. As a result of a plot which, in turn, led to a palace revolution of pro-Prussian and pro-Ottoman nobility against the Gospodaria Cuza was overthrown, and the throne was passed to the Prussian protege from the Swabian branch by Gojan Celernav, to Karola. Karol Pogoncelen-Zigmaringwen. One more area of the modern Romanian state, Transylvania, was then in structure of Austria-Hungary.
For the first time, independence of the integrated Principality of Moldova and Wallachia is proclaimed on May 21.
On May
1877, with the announcement of these lands, Principality Romania, in connection with the beginning of the Russian-Turkish War. Having been involved in this war, Romania, following the results of the Berlin Contract, received northern Dobruja with Constanța in exchange of the southern areas of Bessarabia,
Vodok, which were again occupied with Russia. As the independent state of Romania, it was recognized in San and Stefanski and Berlin Contracts. The period from 1878 to 1914 is characterized by relative stability. In 1881, on the basis of the integrated principality, the Kingdom Romania led by Carol I was created. During World War I, Romania adhered to a neutrality in the beginning, but then entered on August 28, 1916 on the party of the Entente under the influence of victories of the Russian army. 15 on August 28,
1916, the Romanian troops were included into Transylvania.
First for Romania approach developed successfully, but problems with logistic support quickly affected, and after transfer of the German troops from the Western Front, the situation sharply became complicated.
Troops of the Central Powers quickly enough crushed rather weak Romanian army, and by the end of 1916 occupied Dobruja and all Wallachia, including the capital Bucharest.
The royal family, the government and parliament moved to Iași. The army and a considerable part of the civilian population receded to Moldova. From elimination, Romania was saved by the Russian Empire, which for her support allocated army, thereby having broadened east front to the Black Sea.
Active military operations on his Romanian side were resumed only in the summer of 1917, when the Romanian army managed to win from the opponent the small territory in the southwest of Moldova. However, revolutionary events of 1917 in Russia led to the fact that the Russian parts even more often refused to be at war. The territories occupied by troops of the Central Powers almost completely surrounded the territory of Moldova, which is under jurisdiction of the Romanian government, threatening in the long term Romania with complete elimination. Progress of the Entente on the Western Front and in the Balkans in the fall of 1918 led to change of the ratio of forces that allowed Romania to enter war repeatedly. As a result of war, Romania got Transylvania and annexed Bessarabia, which was the Bessarabia province of Russia earlier.
B 1917 of SS Tulpsi Ria Room Statutory Council of Edge, Council of the Country. The pro-Romanian public authority in Bessarabia, earlier a part of the Moldavian Principality, proclaimed the Moldavian People's Republic since March 27, 1918, the Moldavian Democratic Republic, not recognized as any state of the world, and recognized accession of Bessarabia to Romania. In April 1938, the parliament was dismissed and royal dictatorship was established. At the end of June, the beginning of July 1940, the Soviet troops, according to the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, occupied Bessarabia and northern Bukovina. According to the decision of the Second Vienna Arbitration, which is carried out by Germany and Italy on August 30, 1940, Romania transferred to Hungary northern Transylvania. The southern Transylvania remained in the Romanian hands. On September 7, 1940, Romania conceded to Bulgaria the region the southern Dobrudia, and both participants of the contract agreed to carry out exchange of the population. Minorities in territories adjacent to new border. It resulted from the Kryovsky Peace Treaty. During World War II, Romania was an ally of Nazi Germany. The Romanian troops were involved in war against the USSR. From the Soviet territories occupied with Romania, 3 new provinces were created. Bessarabia were the right bank part of the Moldavian Sur, the Ismail region, Transnistria were a left bank part of Mizar and a part of the Odessa, Nikolov and Vinnytsia regions of the Ukrainian Sur, and Bukovina formed by the Romanian authorities in the territory of the occupied Chernivtsi region of the Ukrainian Sur of the USSR entered. Till 1944, in the territory of the country there was a narrow military contingent of Wehrmacht. The German parts of air defense created a strong air defense system for protection of all fields of the region of Ploiești against air attack of aircraft of the anti-Hitlerite coalition. Ploiești's region throughout all war was the main supplier of oil for economy of the Third German Reich and repeatedly was exposed to air bombings of allies of the anti-Hitlerite coalition and firings from the sea by the fighting ships of the Soviet Navy. In August 1944, the King Mihai, having united with anti-fascist opposition, I ordered to arrest Antonescu and the pro-German generals, and I declared war of Germany. The Soviet troops were sent in Bucharest after that, and the allied Romanian army together with Soviet battled against the Hitlerite coalition in the territory of Hungary, and then in Austria. After World War II, Romania got to a sphere of influence of the USSR. In the country, the Soviet system of legislature was installed, but controlled democracy on elections to local authorities was allowed. Peace treaties are signed with Romania in 1947 by the USSR, Great Britain, the USA, Australia, Greece, Czechoslovakia, India, New Zealand, USSR, the Southern African Union, and also Canada. Contracts established borders of Romania as of January 1, 1938. Decisions of the Vienna Arbitration 1938 and 1940 are announced by non-existent. Borders of Romania were established as of January 1, 1941, except for the Romanian-Hungarian border, which was restored as of January 1, 1938. This border changed according to decisions of the Vienna Arbitration 1940. Political resolutions of contracts coincide, generally with the relevant resolutions of the Peace Treaty 1947 with Italy. Dissolution of the fascist organizations, restoration of freedoms, democracies, etc. Military resolutions of contracts regulate questions of the structure of armed forces of these states. Contracts establish the volume of the reparations paid by Romania. Romania undertook to pay reparations to the Soviet Union. The right of the countries which underwent aggression for a restitution of the property which is taken out from their territory, and also the right of the Soviet Union for all German assets in Romania was recognized. Later, the Soviet Union, promoting economic development of Romania, refused a considerable part of compensations for damage caused to him.
In 1947, Mihai abdicated. Romania was proclaimed the People's Republic. In 1948, socialist reforms are begun. Nationalization of private firms and collectivization of agriculture was carried out.
From 1944 to 1958 in the country there were Soviet troops. This period in a post-communist Romanian historiography was called the Soviet occupation.
In 1965, Nicolae Ceausescu, who pursued more independent policy, came to the power.
In particular, he condemned introduction of Soviet troops to Czechoslovakia in 1968, continued diplomatic relations with Israel after Six-Day War of 1967, established the diplomatic and economic relations with the Federal Republic of Germany. 1973, after the coup in Chile, Romania and the People's Republic of China were the only socialist countries which didn't break off diplomatic relations with Chile. In 1974, the most favored nation treatment in trade with Shaw was provided to Bucharest.
However, during the period from 1977 to 1981, the external debt of Romania increased from $3 up to $10 billion. Therefore, influence of such international organizations as the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank increased.
The policy of austerity and also the beginning of reorganization in the USSR led to growth of discontent with Ceausescu's policy. In December 1989 there was the Romanian Revolution, as a result of which Ceausescu was overthrown and shot, and the power passed to the Front of National Rescue. The interim Parliament Council of National Unity was created. In May 1990 there took place the first free presidential and parliamentary elections. Since 1990 the presidency during 3 terms, with a break in 1996-2000, was held by Ion Iliescu, who resigned in 2004. During this time in the country it was succeeded to overcome consequences of crisis of the middle of the 1990th years, and the government proclaimed a main goal of the policy accession to the EU in 2007 together with Bulgaria. On March 29, 2004 Romania entered NATO. On January 1, 2007 the EU. The population of Romania minus card people. On number Romania takes the 9th place in Europe. As well as in other countries of the East European region, in Romania reduction of population is observed. The birth rate is 10.5 on 1,000 people, mortality minus 12.0 on 1,000 people. Most of residents of Romania, Romanians. 90% according to a census of 2002. Hungarians take the 2nd place on percentage among the total number of the population and make the majority in Harjit and Kovazans Judites. Total number of Hungarians in Romania minus 1.4 million people. 6.6% of the population of the country, and 19.6% of the population of Transylvania. Also Roma people, 2.5%. Ukrainians, 61098 people, 0.3%. Germans, 59764 people, 0.3%. Russians, 35795 people, 0.2%. Pigus, 45000 people. Turks, people, 0.2%. The Crimean Tatars, 23935 people, 0.2%. Serbians, 22561 persons, 0.1%. Slovaks, 17226 people, 0.08%. Live in the country. Official language of Romania is the Romanian native for 90% of the population. The second in prevalence language in the country, Hungarian, native for 6.8% of the population. In 2007/2008 academic year 1003 institutions at the level of preschool education worked with training Hungarian. Kindergartens with Hungarian were visited by 41,000 children. In 6 institutions of primary education 47.6 thousand children studied Hungarian. In 531 gymnasiums and 398 gymnasia offices 44697 pupils studied Hungarian. In Romania there is no official religion, however the vast majority of the population, Orthodox Christians. 86.8% the Romanian Orthodox Church. 6.0% Protestants. 4.7% Catholics. 2.4% others. Generally Muslims.
Romania is divided into 8 regions of development which directly aren't administrative units, and serve for coordination of regional development.
Regions of development are divided on 41 județ and 1 municipality. Județ are also 256 municipalities are divided into 2686 communes. In rural areas, communes and municipalities are the minimum administrative units of Romania. Communes are divided into the villages which don't have own administration and not being administrative units. In total in Romania 13092 of the village. Exception in administrative structure of Romania is the municipality Bucharest, which, unlike other municipalities, is an administrative unit of the second level. Bucharest is divided into 6 sectors, in each of which there is own administration. The existing constitution of Romania was adopted in November 1991 and approved on a national referendum in December of the same year. According to the constitution, Romania is the unitary state with the republican form of government. The head of state is the president elected by the population for 5 years. Since 2014, the president of Romania is Klaus Iohannis. The legislature in the country is carried out by the two-chamber parliament consisting of the Senate, 176 places, and the chambers of deputies, Kammer Deputatelor, 412 places. Senators are elected on a proportional system.
412 members of the Chamber of Deputies are elected on a proportional system with a 5% protecting barrier to political parties and 8% for blocs, and other places are reserved for representatives of ethnic minorities.
Term of office of deputies of parliament -4 years. Elections in 2012 were won by the coalition of centre-right parties under the name Social Liberal Union, which received 60.1% in the Senate and 58.63% in the Chamber of Deputies. The coalition consisted of Social Democratic Party, Right Centrist Alliance, the National Liberal Party and Conservative Party. The chairman of the Senate, Călin Popescu-Tăriceanu, and Bell. The chairman of the Chamber of Deputies, Liviu Dragnea. Body of the Constitutional Supervision, the Constitutional Court. Curtea Constitu. Ionala. The highest judicial authority, the highest court of cassation of justice. Înaltă Curte Casă. I Justi. Courts of the Court of Appeal, Courts of Appeal. Cur. Al de Apel din Romania. Courts of First Instance, Tribunals. Tribunal. The lowest link of the judicial system, a judicatoria. Judicatory. The supreme body of public prosecutors' supervision, Prosecutor's Office of the highest court of cassation of justice. Parcitul de pe lângă Înaltă Curte Casă. I Justi. Consisting of the Attorney General of the highest court of cassation of justice, the first assistant. Primadjunct. The assistant. Adjunct. And 3 advisors. Conciliary. Body for Fight Against Corruption, National Anti-Corruption Directorate. Lyric. Or no. Ionala Anticorp. At Prosecutor's Office and General Anti-Corruption Directorate. Lyric. Generala Anticorp. At the Ministry of Internal Affairs and Administrative Reform. Political parties and public organizations. Right. Create Romania. The Nationalist Party. The National Peasants' Party, Christian Democrats. Christian Democratic Party. The Democratic Liberal Party. L. The Liberal Democratic Party. The New Republic. Liberal Conservative Party. Conservative Party. Social Conservative Party. Centrist. The National Liberal Party. The Liberal Party. The Green Party of Romania. Ecological Party. Democratic Union of Hungarians in Romania. V. Party of Protection of the Hungarian Population. Left. Social Democratic Party of Romania. Social Democratic Party. The National Union for Progress of Romania. Left centrist party from the former Dix of S and NPL. People's Party Dan Diaconescu. The Left Nationalist Party. Socialist Party of Romania. The Communist Party. Labor unions. The largest professional center, National Confederation of Labor Unions of Romania, Brotherhood. On December 6, 2009 in Romania there took place the second round of presidential elections which with the minimum advantage Traian Băsescu. 50.33% of voices. 1. His rival, one of leaders of the Social Democratic Party of Romania Mircea Giana, challenged results of elections in the Constitutional Court. Băsescu, supported by a right-centrist alliance, Justice and Truth, became a president in 2004, having received 51.23% of votes. The chairman of ruling Social Democratic Party 54-year-old Adrian Năstase was his rival.
Presidential elections were recognized as the most fierce since falling of communist regime in 1989. The candidate of Democratic Alliance, Justice and Truth, 53-year-old mayor of Bucharest Traian Băsescu, the former sea captain holding also a post of the Minister of Transport in several governments, criticized the power for too slow carrying out the liberal reforms.
Romania has tension in relationship with Moldova. These countries have no boundary treaty with each other. In May 2009, the president of Romania Băsescu said that he doesn't recognize borders with the Republic of Moldova. That means the source isn't specified. 93 days de jure non-recognition of the Parisian Contract of 1947, the Helsinki Final Act of Safety in Europe 1975, decisions Yalta and the Potsdam Conferences.
In November 2013, Traian Băsescu declared desire to create the uniform state with the Moldova. However, the Prime Minister of Moldova Yuri Lyanc in response to it said that Moldova isn't ready to association with Romania.
Since January 1, 2019, the minimum wage gross made 2080 leu and 2350 leu for qualified specialists. The CATSA Index.
A ratio between minimum and the average salary in the country.
In Romania as of 2019.
Average minus 4532 leu and minimum minus 2080 leu.
Makes about 46%. Since January 1, 2021, the minimum wage gross made 2300 leu and 2350 leu for qualified specialists. Euro 473.07 and Euro 483.36 for qualified specialists. And net 1386 leu and 1413 leu for qualified specialists. Euro 285.08 and Euro 290.63 for qualified specialists. Since January 1, 2022, the minimum wage gross will make 25.50 lu. Euro 515.61. And net 15.24 lu. Euro 308.16. Advantages. Reserves successfully outpassed to stable market economy. Low inflation. 3.2%.
Member country of the Uniform Market of the EU.
Rather high rates of economic growth. Above an average across the EU. And a low public debt. Below an average across the EU. Still rather cheap and well educated in comparison with EU countries' labour. In the conditions of sharp falling of unemployment rate and strengthening of deficiency of labour, growth of the salary as of 2019 isn't contained by economic slowdown. Weaknesses. Poor source of raw materials. Strong corruption. Slowly progressing market reforms. Small volume of investment into infrastructure and research and development. The biggest problem, as well as in other countries of the new members of the EU, the deficiency of able-bodied labor increasing every year, and growth of number of pensioners, in connection with low birth rate and high emigration of the population in others, richer, EU countries that in turn forces employers to pay more the workers, thereby artificially raising salaries that leads to an imbalance between productivity and the amount of the salary. One of the largest branches of economy, oil production, a considerable share of the market occupies, Rompetrol, however reserves of oil are insignificant and her production constantly decreases. One of the largest producers of the oil and gas equipment. 80% of production of all oil and gas equipment. The Upetrom plant on May 1 in of Ploiești. In 2008 to the plant 100 years from the date of the basis were executed. From the middle of the old years, oil consumption by Romania approximately twice exceeds her own production. This ratio concerns also import oil export. In Romania there are stocks and natural gas production is made, however in recent years the country is forced to import gas to satisfy the requirements. The leading branch of agriculture, crop production, grain farm. Wine growing is developed. In livestock production, cultivation of sheep and cattle. Tourism develops. The largest resort region of the country, the Black Sea coast of Romania. Distribution of labor. About 30% in agriculture, 23% in the industry, 47% in services industry. 2006.
The main articles of the Romanian export are products of mechanical engineering of 29.5%, vehicles and spare parts to them 18.4%, and products of metallurgical industry of 7.8%.
In 2017 the volume of export was estimated at $70.5 billion. In import the products of mechanical engineering, raw materials, including oil and gas, chemicals, textiles and products from prevail. In 2017 the volume of import was estimated at $81.4 billion. The main partners in foreign trade: Germany, Italy, France, Hungary. 2017.
The Romanian railroads, the railway company which is carrying out a considerable part of cargo transportation and transportation of passengers within the country.
Extent of the railroads, over 11,000 km. Feature of the Romanian railroads, one routing that strongly slows down traffic and freights. 1075 km of transport network pass across Danube.
Importance of the Romanian ports increases with creation of the Trans-European Rhine-Danube Highway.
The inquiry, the culture of Romania, is redirected here. On this subject it is necessary to create separate article.
In the O-13 centuries of the settlement consisted of rectangular in respect of the dwellings put from thick logs and hewn bars.
Less often the log huts which had the wooden framework bound by branches and covered with clay met. Wooden rafters of the high-hanging roofs were straw or shingle. Stone construction was conducted mainly by feudal lords. Houses of the nobility were modest. Stone estates consisted mainly of 3-4 rooms with gallery on one of facades. The estate in Curtea Ardzeș, the 13th-14th century. Early churches had the rectangular plan and an apse in east part. Were constructed from rough stone blocks and a brick. St. Nicolae's Church in Curtea Ardzeș, 1310-1352. Cross and dome is put from the alternating ranks of a stone and a brick, with a dome on columns that speaks about influence of the Byzantine culture. The monastery Caucaș in Izaki is also widely known. Since the 10-11th centuries, during formation of feudal possession, in Romania art begins to arise. In Wallachia and Moldova, under the influence of the culture of Byzantium, Bulgaria and Serbia.
In Transylvania, the cultures of Germany, the Czech Republic and Poland.
Painting. Nicolae Grigorescu was the largest Romanian artist and actually the founder of modern Romanian painting. The largest Romanian composers are George Enescu, Horatio Radulescu, Janca Dumitrescu, George Ștefănescu. Romania achieved the greatest success in sport and reaches in artistic gymnastics, rowing and track and field athletics. History of artistic gymnastics knows such outstanding Romanians as Nadia Comaneci and Nadia Cominec, Simona Amanar, Yolanda Belish, Lavinia Milosevic, Daniela Silivash, Catalina Poner. In soccer, her national team left in World Cup 94 quarterfinal, in 4 years, in 1/8 finals. The most outstanding football players. George Hagi. I finished career. Dan Petrescu, Gheorghe Popescu. The same status. Adrian Mutu, Ciprian Marica, Christian Kivu, Rezdan Rats.
The Capital Football Club store in its season 1985/86 won the Cup of the European Champions and the European Super Cup and also was a finalist of CEC in a season 1988/89.
Rugby Romania national team is one of the strongest national teams of Europe.
4 times it won the Cup of the European Nations and also participated in all 7 draws of the World Cup. Romania gradually develops also in winter sports, in particular, sliding sport and biathlon.
Armed forces of Romania consist of ground forces, naval and the air force. Also far. Right comments. Read comments. Interesting people will tell interesting stories. All of good mood and good luck.